children's shows. They're the harmless stuff that you put on for your kids because you want to go to your happy place for some peace and quiet. But what if we told you that it was a bad idea because these shows harbor some messed up stuff? We mean really messed up in some cases. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and join the notification squad. You won't regret it.
But darling, Gigi.
Prehistoric Future. What if we told you that Hanna-Barbera produced a cartoon starring a family of 4 living in the faraway future with a pet? You'd say, well, obviously, who doesn't know about the Jetsons? But that's not what we were talking about, sucker. In fact, this theory proposes that both the Jetsons and the Flintstones happened at the same time.
Brother Rubble, please, I'm not through yet.
This, of course, is due to income inequality. Seriously, when civilization was bombed back to the Stone Age because of nuclear war, society had to rebuild using Stone Age materials for modern tech. That was for the plebeians of Earth, though. The richer folk were able to live high above the clouds in Orbit City,
just east of Orion in the high-fashion, trendy section of the galaxy.
George Jetson's white-collar job gave him the money to move, while the Flintstones didn't have enough to move. Considering that both shows were made during a time where Americans were afraid of a nuclear attack from Russia, this may make more sense than we care to admit. Okay, sure, this doesn't explain why places are named after rocks and minerals, and then Dino opens up a whole new can of worms, but come on, work with us here. Red Wolf. You know, for as smart as some members of the Mystery Machine team are, they never really question how the heck they have a talking dog. We turned to Reddit to fill in the missing gaps, and they did not disappoint. Through a combination of real-world history and some imagination, we have the definitive answer on Scooby Doo's origin. So for the origin of the crime-solving pooch, we have to go back to Soviet Russia. You see, the real-life Soviet Russia actually did send dogs into space during the 50s and 60s. In the Scooby Doo universe, it's theorized that Russia furthered their experiments to create advanced intelligence dogs. They mostly failed except Scooby-Doo. One of the researchers on the project took pity on the poor pooch and fled with him to the US. The owner died soon after arriving, eventually resulting in Scooby meeting up with Shaggy and joining up with the rest of the mystery team. And as for the reason why Scooby can't speak properly, it's because while he can understand human speech, his mouth doesn't allow him to speak properly. Boom! Scooby Doo origin story.
All right, Neptune, let's get it on!
Bikini Ground Zero. Like our theory surrounding Scooby-Doo, this theory combines real-world history into a children's cartoon to create one hell of a story. A little geography lesson for you viewers. Bikini Bottom is actually located under the real Bikini Atoll. Atoll is part of an island country called the Marshall Islands near the equator in the Pacific Ocean. Why would this matter? Because this part of the country was used by the United States back in 1946 to test nuclear bombs. Just as in the comic books, radiation doesn't kill you but grants you powers. These bombs allegedly created the life we now see in Bikini Bottom. This answers the question as to how the citizens are all alive and sentient. Hey, don't look at us like that. Radiation in comic books has created Spider-Man and the Hulk. Don't tell us that Spongebob is any weirder than a scientist who transforms into a giant beast without ripping his pants. While the theory doesn't explain some of the other questions on the show, we think it does a good job explaining a way that a squid can talk.
Who said that?
Down here.
Now, if someone could explain to us how a crab was able to have a child that's a whale, we'll be all set. But we'll come back to Bikini Bottom later.
Like when she wants something, she says,
Maggies Future. Even after all these years with The Simpsons being on the screen, we still haven't seen the family age. One-off episodes aside, of course. As much as we complain, perhaps the town of Springfield should be happy with this because Maggie would probably grow up to be a sociopath. Sound too far-fetched? Well, let's look at the evidence. It was established in the episode Smart and Smarter, as well as A Streetcar Named Marge, that despite not being able to talk, she's immensely smart for her age.
Oh my God, you're not just smart, you're brilliant.
Knowing this, it's crazy that she tries to take out Homer by attacking him with a nail gun, a mallet, and a pencil. Wait, you say. What about the times where Maggie has saved Homer's life? Well, you see, the only reason why Maggie did this was because she wanted to be the one to off the fat man. You know what this means? We have to see Stewie Griffin and Maggie Simpson fight it out in a baby battle. Once Maggie takes out Homer, Maggie will go on to slaughter others, presumably while still being mute. Okay, we threw in that last part, but that would be a funny twist.
Whom I suspect could be our arch-nemesis, Dr. Claw, using a clever alias.
The true Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget. Whoa, sorry, the theme got in my head again. Seriously, this is like the 4th time I've tried to record this and, sorry. As we know, Inspector Gadget stars an incompetent police detective who manages to save the day time and time again thanks to his robotics and brilliant niece. Gadget always has to take down the evil Dr. Claw and his numerous agents.
What an honor for him. Just doing my job.
Dr. Claw is never given a reason from the show as to why he does the things he does. That's where this theory fills in the gaps. According to the theory, Dr. Claw is actually the original Inspector Gadget. That is, Claw was the human version of the Inspector we all know and love, who unfortunately had a terrible accident. The accident warped his mind and was bad enough that he was assumed dead by his police station. Now that the police have created a robotic duplicate of him, this psychopath is on a warpath to destroy the thing that's stolen his life. Ugly toy and poor live-action movie aside, we've never seen Dr. Claw's face. The show's writers don't want to reveal the secret after all. Our monkey overlord. One of the oldest characters on this list, Curious George is a happy-go-lucky little monkey that finds himself in trouble wherever he goes. And boy does he get around. Whoa, that came out wrong. What we meant to say was he finds himself in zany adventures and the people of Manhattan just seem to be a-okay with it. But how could that be? After all, George does cause some major problems in the town, but he never gets reprimanded. Well, that's because George has superpowers. Obviously, the theory goes that George has unexplained powers which keep the city prosperous and safe. Think about it. Children are able to walk around alone with no worry of stranger danger, all the old people are uncharacteristically healthy and alert, and there's practically no crime. Heck, George's powers are so good that Batman is looking to recruit him for his next Robin. This also explains why everyone in Manhattan is cool with him despite whatever mischief he gets in, because it's better than the alternative of no George. While this theory is admittedly vague, we don't see any better ideas about how this show works. Do you?
What shall we watch next? Three's Company?
Vampire Street. It's likely that for a lot of us, Sesame Street might have been the first ever TV show that we watched. The classic characters, the lessons, the costumes, Sesame Street is really meant for any age. So of course it has to harbor a dark secret. Is there nothing sacred in this world? The theory stars the resident vampire on Sesame Street, Count Von Count. The theory starts off by stating that the Count is keeping the adults under his spell. Count might seem pretty harmless on the surface, but heck, his gimmick is counting. But hold on a second. If he's a vampire, doesn't he have to feed on blood to survive? Well, it's never actually been said flat out that he's a vampire. Why would they say that? The residents of the street are all under his spell anyway, and if they're not, there's his next meal. The show seems to have a revolving door of children, and the reason for that is the Count is picking them off. But wait a minute, you say. The Count can't be in sunlight. Doesn't that prevent this theory? Well, no. All that means is that if Twilight can get away with their version of a vampire, we can allow Sesame Street to do it their way too.
Now to make sure we have enough goodies to keep this road trip rockin'.
Fairly odd theory. From the corners of Reddit comes a theory about a little boy named Timmy and his actual no-joke fairy godparents Wanda and Cosmo. The show is about those two fairies helping out Timmy in the daily struggles of a 10-year-old kid. Of course, hijinks ensue. It seems that Wanda and Cosmo are there to pull Timmy out of a jam whenever they need him. That's because Timmy is depressed. The theory goes that Cosmo and Wanda are an allegory for the antidepressants Zoloft and Prozac, respectively. The two fairies warn Timmy that if he overuses their magical powers, that problems will arise. This serves as an allegory for all the side effects of real-life antidepressants. The theory also gets more interesting when you consider the moment that Timmy gets his godparents. It was right in the first episode with the arrival of his evil babysitter Vicky. Also because Timmy's parents being dangerously incompetent and absent from the boy's life, Timmy must rely on the antidepressants to live his life. And you thought the zaniest thing about this show were the live-action movies.
Yep, my birthdays just keep getting better every year. Thanks to you guys.
Boy, oh boy, were you wrong.
The greatest legend of them all.
The legend of affordable universal health care?
Something far grander.
Who's in charge? While never quite catching on with the big time like some other 90s shows, Pinky and the Brain was nonetheless a modest hit spawning off from the Animaniacs. The show stars the titular Pinky and the Brain, two mice experimented on by Acme Labs. While one is dim-witted but good-hearted, the other is a sadistic piece of work who schemes to
take over the world.
Despite his vast intellect, the Brain continuously fails to succeed in his schemes. But how could he get anything done when he has a genius undermining him at every turn? Yup, according to this theory, Pinky's seemingly idiotic behavior is actually a ruse for his true personality. That personality being a benevolent genius who only tolerates Brain to keep him in check.
Hey, Gad, are you going to read me a bedtime story, Brain?
There's a lot of evidence to support this, but we'll just stick to the one piece of evidence from the theme song. One is a genius, the other's insane. They never specify which, and if we go by the order of the names in the title, Pinky is the genius and the Brain is insane. While a world ruled by mice might not be as bad as a world with insect overlords, it still would be pretty bad. All hail Pinky.
Alright, everybody, what am I?
Sinful SpongeBob. Spongebob Squarepants. Beloved, upbeat cartoon that's a Nickelodeon staple. The 7 main characters are all iconic for their own reasons, but maybe that's because they're the 7 deadly sins. Let's break it down, starting off with the easy ones. Plankton is insanely jealous of Mr. Krabs' Krabby Patty formula, so there's envy.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Krabs is cheap enough to the point that he violates health safety protocols, so there's greed.
Yeah, now we're talking! Yeah! Ow!
Shh. Yes, well, anyway.
Patrick is lazier than an unemployed stoner, and Squidward is as perpetually angry as he is wet, so there's sloth and wrath, respectively.
I have to tell you something, Squidward.
Whatever it is, can't it wait until we get to work?
There's no shower at work.
What do you want?
Don't forget Texas's favorite squirrel, Sandy, who will defend her home state no matter what, signaling pride. Finally, we have SpongeBob and his pet Gary. Gary is easy enough to pin down as the symbol of gluttony, considering how fast he scarfs down whatever food SpongeBob puts in front of him. Now the main character himself, Mr. Squarepants. While this one is the biggest stretch, the theory concludes that SpongeBob is lust, as he's always excited for whatever he's doing, demonstrating an unhealthy lust for even working slave labor at the Krusty Krab.
Okay, I'll see you at the ceremony.
That sounds like the manager of the new Krusty Krab too.
Well, that's it for our list. Are there any other dark fan theories that exist? For all the bizarre premises that lots of kid shows display, it's not a shock that adults have concocted dark backstories for them. Leave us a comment, like this video, check out more videos on our playlist, and subscribe to CBR. We hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.